3, 2, 1. Welcome all to the Black Column Podcast. We are here once again. I am Jabia, aka the Crew Philosopher.
And I'm Shannon, aka your favorite blurred.
Yes, and we are here once again bringing you guys some analysis of the latest going on in politics and news. Shannon, how have you been since the last time we talked?
I've been great. I've been great.
That was a very unbelievable. I've been great.
No, I have. I've been great. Absolutely fantastic, actually. How have you been?
I've been okay. I've been doing very well. It's kind of hard for me to really remember what the differences are between from week to week, but I'm getting there.
Are you gonna quick question for you?
Yeah.
Are you gonna get your parents a COVID vaccine? Are they going to get a COVID vaccine?
My father got his second one.
Oh, he did.
He got a second shot 2 days ago.
Okay.
So I'm assuming my mom is probably going to be next on that list of people to go get the vaccine. I think she said she's going to go get it.
Yeah, it's pretty easy now. So they're opening up Yankee Stadium for those who live in New York that are listening to us, New York City. They're opening up Yankee Stadium as a testing site, and it was super easy to just go on and make an appointment. I made one for my dad and for my grandma.
Oh, so you made the appointment for them?
Yeah.
What's the age cutoff right now?
65 and older.
For
but
the
also,
general public, right?
Yeah, and also if you work in restaurants or if you're like an essential worker or like, I think waiters and waitresses can get one too. So
really?
Yeah. It's like a certain. I think I'm pretty sure. I was reading over the requirements earlier.
Yeah, my mom she does remote school, so she probably have to wait until the age.
But teachers, I think, are also on the list.
Maybe they are. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they are. Yeah.
I haven't really talked to her about it, so I have to ask her and see if she's if she's eligible now. Because if she is, then I think she should go ahead and get her shot.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what's in the vaccine, but I tell people all the time, if you are in the at-risk group, better take your chances with the vaccine than with coronavirus.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with all these new strains. Ooh.
Isn't it like there's like one from Africa, one from the UK, but doesn't California has its own strain now?
Does it?
Like new strain? I'm pretty sure it does.
Listen, it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary.
I'm pretty sure it does.
Yeah, so definitely get one so that you are not caught slipping out here, you know?
When do you think we'll be eligible for one?
Who knows? Listen, I don't know. Because first it's like I'm hearing like, oh, we don't have enough. And like I hear that they're canceling people's appointments. And now like it's super easy to just get an appointment. So I'm confused. But I also heard that next week you'll be able to get vaccines at your pharmacies too. Like Rite Aid and Walgreens or
I don't want Walgreens giving me my COVID vaccine.
Why not?
I just don't. I don't want the Walgreens in my neighborhood giving me a COVID vaccine. I don't know.
What do you think they did? Do you think they spiked it with something else? What was wrong?
I don't know what they're gonna do with it. I just don't want my Walgreens in my neighborhood. No, I want to go where there are doctors and nurses to give my vaccine. I want people in lab coats. Okay. So that's where I will be going when it is available to the public. But yeah, nothing's changing. I've just been watching. The news is kind of like a carousel now. Just story after story after story. The media, the mainstream media, is trying to survive because the ratings have gone like down 40% post Trump, which I told you would happen because Trump was ratings goal for them, and so kind of like I predicted, they have begun to act in ways similar to the way they've acted the past 4 years by finding new targets of crazy people to cover all the time.
Yes. Sorry, I'm like struggling over here trying to get my mic to stand up straight. Okay. Sorry, I'm good now. I'm ready.
So yeah, all right. So we can go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes of the news this week. And so me and Shannon are going to start with a discussion on the school issue. So Shannon, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but in Chicago, particularly, like, this is playing out everywhere, but particularly in Chicago, we are watching a fascinating battle between teachers' unions versus, public officials regarding whether or not they should open schools fully, part-time, discussing, checkpoints that need to be met before teachers will even entertain coming back to school. The CDC, I think, released a statement about school reopenings and how they don't think that teachers need to be vaccinated in order for schools to be reopened. Matter of fact, let me go and find the exact quote from the CDC director. But just overall, Shannon, what are your thoughts on the reopening schools debate?
I don't think that. Listen, I've been like going back and forth on this topic a lot. I don't really think that school should reopen unless you can vaccinate the students and the teachers. That's currently where I stand right now after going back and forth.
So you say you don't think schools should reopen until teachers are vaccinated?
Yes.
Okay, so in order for a school to be open, you would need for all of the teachers to be vaccinated, or most of them, or what?
All of them.
Okay. All right. So
and I don't know about the students. I mean, more importantly, the teachers and the staff need to be vaccinated.
Okay. So let me just read you this from the LA Times. The director of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said Wednesday that schools can safely reopen even if teachers are not vaccinated against COVID-19.
I saw that article. But how?
Vaccination of teachers is not a prerequisite for safe reopening of schools, Dr. Rochelle Walensky said during a briefing by the White House COVID-19 response team. Walensky cited CDC data showing that social distancing and wearing a mask significantly reduce the spread of the virus in school settings. Right? Now, some teachers unions, including United Teachers Los Angeles, have balked at resuming in-person instruction before teachers are inoculated. LA Unified Superintendent Austin Butner has said it is critical that health officials specifically target school employees for vaccination while campuses are closed so that this impediment to reopening is removed. Now, teachers are prioritized as essential workers under the CDC's vaccination guidance, though many have yet to receive doses as the nation continues to face a shortage of the vaccine. So that's very interesting. I didn't know that teachers were prioritized as essential workers under the vaccine. So they are. Okay, so fair enough.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, that your mom should probably be able to get one.
Okay, so they are in line for the first people to get a COVID vaccination. Now, based on the evidence that we have, schools do not seem to be a main source of spread.
Yeah, that's very true too.
Based on the evidence, I think you covered that a while back. That showed. Go ahead.
Isn't the main source of spread still indoor gatherings? Like, I feel like it's nothing. Like, I feel like it's not gyms. I feel like it's not restaurants right now. I feel like it's not schools. I feel like it's literally people going to other people's homes.
Yeah. So the main source of spreading is in private settings, people's homes, private parties that take place, breaking local restrictions. Those seem to be where COVID-19 is spreading the most. That said, I don't think that would be the case if we open society up, right?
No, I don't think so either.
Like if we opened everything up, then I think you would see movie theaters being one of the main places that COVID spreads, or malls, of course, or whatever.
Especially if you open everything to full capacity, then yes, because there's not an opportunity to social distance. So, of course, I do think, now that you're saying that, I do think that schools, if they have the ability to social distance, but I feel like if you have a full classroom, you don't really have the ability to do that. So I don't really know how that's going to work.
So here's the thing. We have the data that shows that schools are not a main spreader of COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
That said, here's the problem. I believe the mainstream media deserves some blame for this stuff because they have scared the living daylights out of everybody with their news coverage. No, it's just true. Okay. Their constant news coverage, the hysteria that's taking place, the COVID death body count that they were ticking off every day until Joe Biden got in, then they took it off the news program. Those things have an effect on people.
Mm-hmm.
When you scare people half to death, and people, if I ask people, okay, what do you think the mortality rate is for COVID-19? Most people don't know that it is probably around 0.3, 0.4%.
Very low.
They would think it is somewhere like 10% or 20% because the media coverage has been so irresponsible that it has scared everyone into believing that if you catch this thing, there's like a 10 or 20% chance you're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that in the back of my mind, I understand why teachers are very hesitant to go back to school. I think they're being very emotional. They're probably afraid. We've made them afraid like this.
Yep, it's true. Yeah.
And now we're reaping what we sow. I would also like to Google the median.
I mean, but I
age.
feel like also that, people have a right to be afraid because, like if you've been like, if you're a teacher, right, and you've been staying home mostly this whole time and like keeping yourself safe, and then, you're suddenly faced with the possibility that you have to go back to in-person learning where the chances of you catching corona are larger because you're going to work than when you were staying home. Like people have like, what if you live with your elderly grandmother? Or like, what if you like live with at-risk individuals? Like I could understand why people are hesitant to put themselves into that environment.
So I also just quickly typed in the average and median age of public school teachers, and I think this was done in 2011 to 2012. So that's quite a bit of time has passed. But at least for here it says the average age of teachers was 42.4 years old.
Okay.
The median age of teachers, which is different from average, this,
Yes.
is 41, which is close to the average. And so only 15.3% of teachers are less than 30 years old. 54% are between 30 and 49 years old. So that also might explain some of the hesitance because you have teachers that now they're not close to 65, but as you go up in age, the risk of getting hit with COVID heavily increases from,
but not even just for older people, just you could be young too. If you have if you're immunocompromised, then you're also at risk, even if you're young. So people could be worried about that also.
Yeah, true. But the immune compromised, those people I consider to be the exceptions. You know how I don't like having conversations about the exceptions to the rule, like discussing the rule. I'm just saying, if you're immune compromised, then you obviously shouldn't be going anywhere.
Exactly.
That said,
but what if you're staying home and you're not going anywhere, but you have to go back to school because you're a teacher?
No, I'm saying those people should be excluded.
Oh,
if you have an immune problem, then yeah, you shouldn't be going back to school. That said, our country is so fat that it makes half of us, in the risk group. It does. No one's talking about that. Around 54% of the country is in the risk group. So what are you going to do? So yeah, that's how the argument, Shannon. But then you also have, and it needs to be taken into consideration. You also have the fact that our children are getting stupider, are getting dumber as the days go by.
Mm-hmm.
I was about to say stupider, then I realized it's not a word. Our children are getting dumber and dumber the longer they are outside of schools. My mother is a remote teacher. I hear her every day. And I think people kind of have this fairy tale view of what they imagine remote schooling is like. It is not like a Zoom meeting. It's not. My mom spends most of her time trying to, A, make sure the students are learning and actually listening to what she's saying. B, arguing with parents. Because remember, parents, they're usually around their children, watching them do the work, or at least listening to them do the work, listening to the instruction. And every parent thinks that their child is the world. They think their child is, God's gift to us all. And so you catch some lip from a parent if you criticize their children in a way that they find to be less than flattering. And so my mom has to go back and forth with those people, which then distracts from the children being taught. Add on top of that technology happens sometimes, whether it'll be on my side where the internet will act up. And so she has to, try to restart the Wi-Fi and doing that. It is not this great, beautiful thing. Now it's better than nothing.
And I know it's not.
Not great.
I know it's not at all. I have friends, coworkers that have children that are remote learning, and I just hear every day how awful it is. So I completely agree.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And also, you have to remember that in order for parents to go back to work, something has to be done with the children.
Yes.
This is unfortunate, but we have created a society where it is normal for us to expect our children to be outside of our supervision for 8 hours a day. Mm-hmm. We don't think about that. Like, that is a pretty large chunk of time.
Yeah.
Parents depend on school so that they can work.
Yep.
And so if there's no school, then it is hard for parents to work. Now, out on top of that, this is frustrating for teachers because teachers have been saying for years that, look, we ain't babysitters. We're to teach. Like, we are here to instruct children. We are not here as your babysitters. But as this is, they kind of are babysitters too.
Yeah.
Because parents rely on them so that they can go to work. And so it is in the best interest of American parents that schools reopen so that they can proceed to look for work as well. And so parents are not going to be able to really look for work as long as they have to find a way to watch their children, which, by the way, is expensive if you begin to look for babysitters or, private companies or whatever. It's expensive. That part of the conversation is not had. And I think the solution might be a compromise. It might be this. Schools can reopen if half the teachers inside of the schools are vaccinated. Now, Shannon said all of them. I'm saying half, especially if you got the Pfizer or the Moderna vaccine. If you get after your second shot, if half the teachers in your school have gotten both shots, and so they have the 95% effective rating, then I think it's pretty much safe. Okay, well, half of them have the vaccine. We're going to keep socially distancing. We're going to wear masks. We're going to have all of our protocols in place. We already know that corona doesn't spread that easily in school if you take these socially distancing measures. So if we add on top of that the vaccination for extra safety, then I think teachers will have more confidence in coming back to school.
I think that I think it's easier to keep the older kids socially distanced. So I think that definitely the older kids' school should be opened now, like middle school and up probably. But I feel like younger than that, it's kind of harder to keep them. It's hard. Little kids, they have short attention span. They don't like wearing masks. I feel like it's harder to keep them in control. So I feel like definitely those teachers should get vaccinated first if we're like.
Well, but remember from the data, we know that small children don't really transport the virus like that.
All right. They don't transmit it.
They don't spread the virus to adults like that. So in some ways, kindergarten teachers, pre-K teachers are actually safer than teachers of elementary school kids or junior high school. And so if anything, I think the vaccination should work backwards. It should start from maybe we should start from junior high, because high schoolers can deal with.
All right, because we said this. High schoolers can actually stay home by themselves and still do remote learning because they're old enough, so they can actually still remote learn from their own home without parental supervision. Yes. Yeah,
it's not ideal, right? But what we can do is start from junior high, then go drop to elementary school teachers, then maybe jump to high school teachers, and then finally hit the pre-K kindergarten. Yeah. Is that under elementary or
what? Elementary is like 3rd through 5th.
Okay, so whatever was before 3rd grade, they hit those teachers last. That's what I would do. A compromise, right? Compromise between. Now, some of the union demands from the teachers is insane, and by the way, the teachers should know that we're doing this to put your mind at ease, because the data shows that you aren't in any actual real risk compared to the rest of the public. Like, community transmission is significantly more of a problem than school transmission. It's not even close. Yep. And so this is really for a teacher's state of mind. But I think we should do this because, once again, the mainstream media has freaked us all out, and we all think if we catch this thing, we're going to die. And so this, I think, will go a long way with helping, heal the divide between the two. And this way we can proceed to have children be, back in school. Then the parents can have more freedom. Even if parents aren't going back to work, just having more, it's not normal to spend all this time with your kids. It's just not. No. I know people think it is. Like, is your kid?
It's not normal to spend all the time with anyone who lives in the house with you, your spouse, your kids, anyone you live with. It's not normal.
Yeah, it's not. You'll begin fighting for no reason. Telling your wife to shut up just because. You don't want to end up that person, wives throwing stuff with their husbands, things are getting pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
So this would help everybody.
The divorce rate went up, right? Over the pandemic, over the key like lockdown months that we were in. Didn't the divorce rate go up?
Hold on. Divorce rate.
I read that. Maybe not here. I feel like in China it happened.
No, I think it's happening here too.
Yeah.
That said, I don't know what divorce lawyer is going to process your marriage during these turbulent times. I gotta read this because this is funny. After 7 years, this is from the BBC, Shannon. After 7 years of marriage, 29-year-old Sophie Turner and her husband filed for divorce. They never discussed splitting up before the coronavirus crisis, but during the pandemic, their marriage soured. I was more stressed, and it was all just building up. And we decided for maybe a trial separation, says Turner, a support worker for Children's Social Services in Suffolk, England. No, this is England. Suffolk, England, whatever. Very quickly, we realized it was going to be more permanent than that. Their experiences are becoming increasingly common, with divorce applications and breakups skyrocketing across the UK and around the world. Leading British law firm Stewart's logged a 122% increase in inquiries between July and October compared with the same period last year.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. The same is true in Sweden. Damn. So it's bad in the US. Which is, once again, not shocking. And by the way, fellas, most divorces are initiated by women.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think like 75%. This is why I mentioned to get married, but that's not the topic for another day. So yeah, the quicker we can get people back in real life, the better we'll all be. Mm-hmm. Now, often the teachers, we have to have an intervention about AOC.
Okay. Right? Can I just
go ahead, Shannon,
preface this by saying Jabia has some skewed view of AOC that I do not agree with or support. Just gonna throw that out there. Continue.
Fair enough. I don't mind standing on my own sword for this one.
Yep.
I was someone who was a fan of AOC, not necessarily because of her policies, because I thought she was a great step forward for politicians getting younger, having exciting ideas, being tech savvy, just someone that is deciding the fate of people today who's actually born within the last 2 or 3 decades and not somebody from, the Reagan times or way back when. And so she was a step in the right direction. I also said that she had a good shot of being the first female president of the United States because of her fiery passion and the way things were moving. But it pains me to have to do this to AOC, but somebody has to say it to you. And AOC should probably step down from her role.
Why?
In Congress. Because
what is your reasoning for this?
Well, this is all very simple. So AOC has been bitching ever since the Capitol incident about her experience at the Capitol.
Okay.
She's done like 2 or 3 Instagram lives talking about how terrified she was and we can't have unity without accountability. And all of this nonsense.
How is that nonsense?
Well, just hold on, because it's nonsense for a couple of reasons. Number one, not how she feels is nonsense, right? I'm not saying that AOC did not have a traumatic experience. She probably did have a traumatic experience, right? As someone who's been jumped before, I can understand how a traumatic experience like that can scar you and kind of change your perspective on things. Mm-hmm. That's why I think she should step down.
No,
you need to be objective when you are making decisions on behalf of people. You need to be able to think critically about issues. It is clear to me that AOC is moving in a way where her trauma is in the driver's seat and not her logic. And this helps explain some of her comments recently about censorship and the need for the government to create like this ministry of truth and all of this crazy stuff. Where I've been saying, well, AOC, you know, you have to defend free speech. You have to defend the spirit of free speech. You have to defend the free exchange of ideas. And I feel like she was making comments that were going against those things. And now it makes sense, because when you are traumatized, you are looking to make things safer. Mm-hmm. That is your number one priority. And so if safety is your number one priority, that's where everything she's been saying and doing since the Capitol incident makes perfect sense. But you are elected to represent the people who have elected you. You're not there to make your own decisions or to let your trauma, you know, be the driver in everything you do. And I think her going on Instagram Live talking about she's a sexual assault survivor, which I get it, but what does that have to do with the incident at the Capitol? I think she is losing her marbles, and no one wants to say anything about it. And I'm not even going the direction that others are going, saying that she is purposely using the Capitol incident to manipulate people, because I see her as someone who is genuinely pained by what happened. Mm-hmm. But that's why it is just, to me, more like it's clear in my mind that, yeah, you need a therapist, right? You need to speak to somebody. You need to heal. You don't need to be making decisions right now. That's how I feel about it.
Okay. That argument is not as absurd as I thought it was going to be from you.
I don't know what you thought I was going to
say. It's not as absurd as I thought. Those are very valid reasons. Going through trauma like that can really affect your mindset. So, I mean, I understand that. I don't necessarily agree that she should step down. I agree with your points, but I don't know if she should step down entirely. Should she see somebody and seek help? Yes.
She should stop doing the Instagram lives. She should stop sharing her trauma over the internet. Just stop. Just no. Go talk to somebody. And she should also remember that, dude, people in this country go through worse things all the time. And this is another thing that is brought that I think needs to be said, which is, for a good chunk of people, we grew up in conditions worse than what AOC went through. Like, yeah, I get it was bad, but number one, it wasn't that long. And number two, it wasn't that severe because they finished voting or discussing what they were talking about that exact same day. Yeah, versus you have people growing up in neighborhoods with this constant violence, with their, you know, where any day you can really leave and depart from this world. Mm-hmm. And this is true in multiple places in this country. And, you know, nothing's ever done about it really because politicians can't relate to it. And so when the AOC are just, you know, constantly complaining about what happened, it's kind of like, okay, AOC, I understand it. Something bad and traumatic happened to you. But that's life. It's life. And you're still there. The fact that you are still around to complain is proof enough that whatever you think happened, it was not nearly as bad as it could have gotten. Mm. So you are safe. And I want to end this on my last point, which is Teddy Roosevelt was giving a speech. He was shot. And then he proceeded to get up and finish his speech before he addressed the wound. Now compare that to AOC. I'm just saying. Have the politicians have fallen.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
That's all I want to say.
Okay.
So, yes, AOC needs to be committed. All right, now.
Committed. Not committed. She needs to be a therapist. She needs to be committed.
No, this is for her own safety. She needs to be somebody. She's
not a psychopath. She needs to be committed.
Well, I don't think psychopaths are the only people that are committed. I think you can be committed.
But I don't think she needs to be. She needs to maybe see a therapist if she's suffering from trauma from the insurrection. But I don't think that she needs to be committed.
I think AOC is a danger to herself.
How do you know that?
And those around. Okay, I don't know that, but I do know that she is a danger to those around her.
You mean that she's a danger in her position?
Yes, which makes her a danger to those around her.
Okay, but I don't know if you should go as far as to say that she's a danger to herself. That's
you're right. I don't know that, but I do know that she's a danger to those around her.
Okay,
so that meets one of the requirements. And so, yes, I believe that she should be committed to a place where she can be drugged.
I don't think that requires her to be committed. I think at the least it requires her to step down, but I don't think she needs to be committed.
Shannon is trying to look out for you, AOC. I'm trying to look out for you in a different way. I do think you need to be committed and drugged so that you can work through the things
Drugged?
that.
How? What are you talking about?
That's what they do, right? When they take you in, they give you some drugs to detox your mind.
Do you know that for a fact before you just go there and say that? Because that doesn't sound accurate to me.
I'm joking. I don't think you need to be committed, AOC. I'm joking. Okay. But you do need to seek help.
He's being
you need to seek help.
There you go. Seek help. That's it. Don't.
All right. So now we are going to move on to Biden's immigration executive orders. And this might be where me and Shannon get into an argument, because I want to use this as a jumping off point regarding whether or not African Americans should be pro or anti-immigration.
Okay.
So Joe Biden, and by the way, I'm not even sure you can really call these executive orders, because it doesn't seem to be him really implementing or doing anything versus him trying to get the ball rolling on reversing or pausing some of Donald Trump's policies. But it doesn't seem like these don't seem to be like earth-shattering executive orders.
No, that's what I thought too when I read most of them. Continue. Let's hear them.
Yeah. Like, so for example, it says the executive orders, and I'm reading this from BuzzFeed News. The executive orders will create a task force to review the Trump administration's separation of families at the border and an extensive analysis of asylum processing and the public charge rule. And so the public charge rule is kind of described as a wealth test for immigrants seeking green cards.
Okay.
I think we're all against family separation at the border.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's a good thing. Though I am kind of concerned with whenever they just keep creating new task force and, then another task force. And then next thing you know, you have Homeland Security being made, and it's just a lot. So you have that going on. I think he also... The executive order also called for the Department of Homeland Security to stop implementing two controversial pilot programs, the Humanitarian Asylum Review Process, also known as HARP, and Prompt Asylum Claim Review, known as PACR. Those policies sought to quickly deport Mexican and Central American asylum seekers at the southern border.
Wait, so quickly what?
Deport.
Wait, read the whole thing again. Sorry. Not the whole last part.
So those two pilot programs sought to quickly deport Mexican and Central American asylum seekers.
Seeking asylum. Okay, so he's reversing that, you said.
Yes.
Okay. I agree with the reversal.
Yeah. And then one executive order established a family separation task force to identify and reunify all children separated from their parents by the Trump administration.
Yep.
And by the way, I can tell by the time we're not going to get to this, so just to let y'all know, there was like breaking news during this podcast that that woman, GOP Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, she was stripped of her committee seats over past comments embracing conspiracy theories and political violence.
Good.
That's the woman that we were talking. Yeah, I don't really think Congress is the place of crazy, so.
No, it's definitely not.
I support that. A second executive order called for reviewing several of Trump's policies that made it difficult for immigrants to seek asylum in the U.S., which forced thousands of immigrants to wait in dangerous Mexican border cities.
Okay. And he reversed that too. I agree with that. Okay. What did you think we were
it's saying that he didn't reverse that. So that's why I want to make clear here. The executive order is calling for a reviewing of those policies.
Oh, review. Okay, got it.
That is different than reversing. He is reviewing the policies.
Okay.
Now, a conversation needs to be had about immigration that I think many people are afraid to have, but I'm not, because I do not buy this black and brown coalition. Okay, I don't buy it. I think it's a house of cards.
What are you talking about? Go ahead. Let's hear it.
First of all, I don't think black people and brown people have this natural allyship that many Black organizations like to pretend that we do, right? And so the phrase Black and brown is used all the time. Oh, Black and brown people, Black and brown policy. We need to protect Black. When did those people become our natural allies? And said who? Did we vote for this? Did Black people get together and vote to have the Black and brown coalition? I don't think so. So I'm asking us to really sit and think about, okay, what is our stance on immigration? Because I think we have been told what our thoughts on immigration should be, but that is different than us having a conversation about, okay, what is in the best interest of African Americans, and then making a decision on what our political stance on immigration should be.
Oh, okay. So what is your stance on immigration?
Now, before I give my opinion,
oh God,
a distinction needs to be made. There's a difference between, and I don't know why I'm holding this in my hand, but a distinction needs to be made between illegal immigration and immigration.
Okay.
Two different things.
Yes.
Though my opinion is going to be the same. I believe America should have a very, very, very restrictive immigration policy. And the immigrants that we do allow in the country, in my opinion, should be high-skilled immigrants. I don't believe in taking all these refugees. I don't believe in taking all these people who need help. No. Now, some of you might say, oh my God, Jabia, you sound heartless. And yeah, I might be. But
I would say that too.
I'm sure you will. But here's the problem. Shannon can't push back on the merit of my argument. And here's the merit of my argument. Now, I don't know if Shannon cares about Black men or not, but Black men are considered, some of us are, low-skilled labor, right? And so we compete for jobs that don't require higher learning, but that are considered kind of blue-collar jobs, right? So they pay decent, although some pay undecently, but they don't require a lot of college education. Now, immigrants, and this is true of illegal and legal immigrants. This is why I made the distinction, but said that my opinion on both is similar. When you allow immigrants to come to the country who don't have a lot of education, but who have bodies, they then will compete against low-skilled African Americans in the labor force. And then what happens, it prevents an increase in pay because workers can't leverage and organize for high wages because guess what? There's always a new batch of low-skilled workers coming into the country, which makes it harder to negotiate. And by the way, before you guys accuse me of being racist, Bernie Sanders had the exact same opinion, which is why he was also, until very recently, for political reasons, against immigration policies because he felt that it cut the ability of workers to organize and demand higher pay. Now, to my logic, Shannon, you say what? Not your feelings, but the logic.
I know. And I was going to say that, yes, your logic makes sense, but sorry, it's hard for me to bark on this argument without bringing my personal feelings into it.
Go ahead. What are your feelings?
No, I understand and agree with your logic. I just don't think that it's right to keep people out of the country who are seeking asylum or I don't think that's right.
Even if it makes life for African Americans in the country harder?
Yes.
Really?
Yep.
Why?
Because, okay, so you're saying that we shouldn't be in asylum, like we shouldn't take in any refugees from anywhere if they're fleeing from danger in their own country?
Shannon, we have awful communities in this country.
I mean, I know that, but I just don't think that it's fair. If I just feel like we shouldn't be turning people away who are trying to seek asylum from.
But why not? A country owes its own citizens before it owes.
I mean, yes, that's true. And that's American. Why I said the logic makes sense, but I just don't think it's right. It's my own personal feelings, but I understand your logic and I agree with it. Not arguing with it. I'm just saying, it's all right.
But how did you develop these feelings? Because that's part of the problem. Is that Democrats are very good at making people feel a certain type of way, and so they vote. I'm just saying, you guys vote based off your feelings, even though logically you couldn't push back on anything that I just said.
I mean, I'm admitting to that. I said I agree with your logic.
Okay, so would you vote to limit immigration or would you vote to increase immigration?
I don't know. I'm on the fence.
fair.
That's something I have to sit on.
That's very fair. Now, from a logical perspective, immigration is great for the country. It's just not great for Black people. So from the point of view of the country, you were able to bring in more Americans, which helps offset the fact that America has a declining birth rate. That's number one. Number two, as you become a kind of a safe haven for immigrants, you are able to attract some of the best and brightest talent. Now, that would also be the case if you adopted my upper class. Shannon, are you? Oh, okay, you just still.
No,
I'm
listening to you.
Oh yeah, that would also be the case if you adopted my, high skilled immigration policy, because you will be attracting the best engineers, the best scientists, the best whatever. So you will still have that, but America will also benefit because you can continue this constant growth economically, even though the lives of your citizens don't improve at all. Right? That's how you end up in a case now where the GDP or the stock prices are surging, even though the lives and the pay of Americans isn't doing that great at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I just believe, look, African Americans have we have to begin to really look at policies cold-blooded. So, Shannon, I get Shannon has a good heart. I understand it. And look, this is all philosophical, because I can make an argument that borders aren't real. Borders are imaginary. So the life of a Mexican is no different than the life of an African American, except there's an imaginary border that was created there. I can make that argument, but I believe that America owes its citizens help before they look to heal the world. Like part of Joe Biden's immigration, executive orders was examining the root cause of immigration so that we can solve that problem, which means sending aid and money to various Central American countries,
mm-hmm.
which I also disagree with, because once again, we have problems here. Yes. We have people that need help here. Mm-hmm. And it seems to be, and I'm going to say it, that we spend significantly more money and significantly more time aiding brown people than we do helping Black people. Okay. Now, I know that sounds triggering for some of you out there who believe in the Black-Brown coalition. I'm just not buying it.
Okay.
I care about us.
I see. It's okay. No, it's true. We do have a lot of problems that need to get solved here. We need to figure out the homeless problem. We need to figure out low income, poverty. All this stuff needs to be solved, and I feel like it's not getting solved. So I completely agree with you.
Yeah. And then one day we're gonna hash out my theory that the natural ally to the Black man is actually the white man. But that's a story for another day.
I feel like you're really trying to dig it in there, and I feel like you made a good point, and let's just leave it there. I don't think we need
I'm just saying.
I don't think we need to.
It's a very good theory, by the way. I've been working on it for weeks.
Okay, maybe we don't have to talk about that during Black History Month, though. It's fine. Happy Black History Month, by the way, everyone.
I know we didn't even do. I have my quiz for Shannon coming up at the end of the show, so stay tuned.
At the end of the show? No.
No. You should know your Black history, Shannon. You shouldn't need preparation.
I know. I'm tired though. Okay.
To the last story that we had, the Georgia Senate Republicans, they're doing it again, Shannon. They are doing it again. They are proposing legislation, passing legislation to prevent the bluing of Georgia.
Wait. What? Where did? Oh, okay. Sorry.
Georgia Senate Republicans.
They're trying to limit mail voting. Yes, which will then in turn limit voting. Got it. Okay.
This has been a very frustrating talking point when it comes to Republicans, because it is so obviously true that I'm embarrassed that people who defend it. even if you like Republicans, like I don't hate Republicans. I am a very pro diverse political thinker. There are many conservative and Republican policies that I think are wonderful. But you are kidding yourself if you lie and pretend like Republicans don't create these shady ass laws and legislation because they look, the Republican political strategy to win anything is limit voting turnout to like, I don't know, 45%, and then hope to squeeze by. Like, it's not to spread their ideology to as many people as possible. It's to make it as difficult as possible for people to participate in the political process and then push our people out. And with the combination of the two, we'll be able to squeeze out these elections, especially when it comes to presidential elections. I mean, even someone who is sympathetic to the Republican cause, like I am, can be honest and admit that. And so whenever these stories come out, I'm always stunned at people who defend these things.
Why are you still holding that knife, by the way? You're just swinging it around. And
I don't know. I like it.
Okay.
I like it. So the bills introduced Monday, that was early this week, will restrict who can vote absentee by mail, require a photo ID for those who do vote absentee by mail, ban ballot drop boxes, and block outside groups from sending out absentee ballot applications.
For
other
what?
Proposals
to prevent voter fraud that didn't exist in the first place. Anyway.
Okay. All right, Shane, that's a lot. Other proposals would end automatic voter registration when obtaining a driver's license and ban new residents from voting in a runoff election.
This sounds very, very oppressive.
So the last one didn't bother me that much. Banning new residents from voting in a runoff election, I think that's fair.
Okay.
Right? Like,
what about everything else?
So I'm against automatic voter registration.
Okay. Why is that?
Because I think you should make the decision to participate in a democracy.
Okay, that's true.
Now, I'm with making voting. I'm for making voter registration as painless as possible.
Okay.
So, but I don't think
that there's anything wrong with automatic voter registration, because just because you're registered to vote doesn't mean that you have to.
Yeah, but I mean, just look, we live in a democracy. Mm-hmm. I'm just uncomfortable by automatically doing anything. Like it feels like you're taking away somebody's power of choice.
Okay.
I remember woo, say that word for me, Shannon.
Register. Oh my God. Registering. Registering.
Yeah, I couldn't say it either.
Registering.
I remember registering to vote. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was a pretty dope moment in my mind. A cool moment. I remember it. It was a significant event. I don't want to take that away from people. So the last two, I'm not that upset about. Now, block outside groups from sending out absentee ballot applications.
What does outside groups mean? What does that mean?
I'm guessing people who aren't Georgians. So like, remember for the runoff election, how a bunch of people came into the state to register people to vote and to send out ballots and things. This would prevent them from being able to send out the ballots applications.
Okay.
How do you feel about voting by mail in general?
I personally don't trust it.
Me neither.
But they're trying to block it out because, I mean, I guess they don't trust it either. So never mind. That's yeah. I don't trust it because I think that like it's easy to be tampered with, which I guess is the same reason that they
you sound like you agree.
But I think it's also I'm not in favor of removing it, especially
well, they're not either. They're just saying restrict who can vote absentee by mail.
Okay, so who are they restricting from voting by mail?
People who don't have a photo ID.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, you need a photo ID to do everything. So I feel like that.
You don't actually, which is shocking. I thought the same thing as you because we live in New York City, but apparently in a bunch of places they don't have, like for example, for those of you who don't live in New York City, in New York, you go everywhere with your ID.
Yeah, you have to.
Everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You don't travel without a photo ID. And if you are under the age of having an ID, you better travel everywhere with your student ID.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the case in a bunch of other cities or states, Shannon. I think we forget that.
Oh,
And
I
so,
actually didn't know that.
yeah, like when I go to vote, I always give them my ID because it's easier for them to find my name instead of just me saying it. And then I got to spell out how my first name is spelled and all that stuff. I just give them my ID. It has my address on it, has my name, so they can go through my voter book, sign out. Now, people would say that requiring photo ID is voter suppression because certain people can't get photo identification. I do remember it being a pain in the ass getting a photo ID from the DMV. I had to go back and forth like a bunch of times before I got my first photo ID. You need like a social security number and something that proves your address. And
yeah, but I feel like you have to like, if you're voting by mail, I feel like you need to have an ID. Otherwise, how do you prove your identity? I feel like that's necessary to do.
I agree. You know what it might be? It might be the fact that maybe because I think me and you are kind of coming to this realization that we agree with more of these policies than we feel comfortable admitting to in this podcast. But maybe it's because I don't like where this is coming from. Right?
Well, yeah, it's coming from a place of trying to suppress the voters, but the policy in itself, like, it makes sense. Like, if anyone else was suggesting it.
But then if I'm requesting a absentee ballot and you mail it to my house, isn't that proof enough that I am who I say I am?
I mean, I guess so. Proof of mail. I guess proof of address. But
okay, so what do we think about banning ballot drop boxes?
No, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, where else am I supposed to drop off the goddamn ballot?
Yeah.
where am I supposed to drop it off at? That makes no sense. See, here's the thing. I believe. Okay, so I'm gonna give you more context. So the bill is called Senate Bill 67, and so it says Senate Bill 67. And by the way, this article is from PBS.org. Would require that a voter provide either their driver's license number or personal ID card number, or provide a photocopy of their ID when applying for an absentee ballot.
Okay, wait. Read that one more time.
It said Senate Bill 67 would require that a voter provide either their driver's license number or personal ID card number, or provide a photocopy of their ID when applying for an absentee ballot.
I feel like that's fair.
Me too.
That is very fair.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take back what I said about Republicans.
I mean, I'm not gonna take back what I said about Republicans, but I feel like that's fair.
So maybe the second part is what I disagree with. So there's another bill called Senate Bill 71. So it says Senate Bill 71 would limit who is allowed to vote absentee by mail, a method currently available to any Georgian without needing an excuse. So right now, any Georgian can vote by mail.
Okay, so that I disagree with too. I feel like there shouldn't be any restrictions on who can and can't do that.
Okay, so let me just finish reading. The bill would only allow absentee voting under particular circumstances, including for voters who are 75 or older, have a physical disability, or will be absent from their precinct on the date of the election. The bill doesn't mention global pandemics as a blanket excuse. And see that I disagree with as well.
Yeah, I disagree with that whole thing. I don't think that you should be limited at all or restricted.
So let me ask you a question. So if we agree on the photo ID as kind of a prerequisite to request absentee ballots, do you worry about kind of forcing people to carry identification? Because once again, it happened to us and we think it's normal. But there was a time where you had an expectation of anonymity, meaning people couldn't just, take your wallet and find out your name. That's kind of weird if you think about it. The fact that, Shannon, if you got shot, right, I would know your name, first name, your last name, and where you live like that. We don't think about it because it's becoming normalized to us. But do you worry that by attaching a photo ID to absentee ballot voting, that you kind of are contributing to this new society where everyone can be identified at any point of time?
Um, I actually don't have a problem with having to have your ID with you at all times. I really think that you need to be able to identify yourself at any moment. So I don't really.
I forgot you're a communist.
How am I a communist? I guess it's because I've just grown up that way, where it's like it's instilled in me that I always need to have my ID. But it's like if you're without your ID, how do you prove who you are if you don't have it?
But that's the point. Why do I need to prove who I am?
I mean,
like for years, that was not the standard. Like, why do I need to prove to you who I am?
For security reasons. I don't know.
You're a regular citizen.
I mean, I guess, but I feel like you still need to prove who you are. I feel like you need the proof. Like, what if you? I don't know. I just feel like I don't know. Maybe because I don't know a life without that, so I don't really know the other side of it.
I might be okay with this because it is for absentee ballot voting, and so if you don't want to have to submit an ID, you can kind of just go to the polls. Do I think it should be a requirement? Now, here's the thing. Establishing a voter ID system would help with what I want to do, which is extend voting on like a maybe a citywide level or a statewide level. I haven't thought about it, but for me, I think I should be able to vote in New York City anywhere I want to. So, for example,
you mean aside from your polling site?
Yeah, like
okay.
If I'm at work, like some people work long hours, and so the only time they would probably be able to vote would be like during their lunch break. Mm-hmm. And so if during their lunch break they want to go into this place to vote, why should they not be able to just because they are not in their precinct?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense.
The precinct thing kind of binds you to this one particular place in voting, which can also contribute to longer voting lines. Versus if we had a voting system where you vote, if you live in the city of Atlanta, you can vote anywhere in Atlanta. If you live in the city of New York City, you can vote anywhere in the city.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But then to do that, I would have to take your position, which is because a voter ID would be the only way for us to all be in this one database.
Yeah.
And so that's the only that's possible. So I don't know. I don't think Senate Bill 67 is that problematic. Senate Bill 71, I think that's crazy. I don't like the reasoning behind Senate Bill 67. And there's a conversation.
I'm sorry, which one is that again? If you're just referring to it by number, I don't remember.
Okay, so 67 is the one about the ID and ballots. 71 is restricting who can vote using the ballot. There's a conversation that needs to be had about why people think that voter ID laws are discriminatory. Like, I don't think Black people are incapable of getting an ID.
They're not. No one's incapable of getting an ID if you're a legal citizen. So.
Yeah. So then why is that constantly cast as being anti-voting by requiring for voter ID?
Wait, what do you mean?
No, I'm saying, so voter ID laws, many people on the left view them as being voter suppression tactics.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know why that is, because I don't view it as that either. It's not hard to get an ID. Anyone, if you are a citizen, you're not going to get denied for getting an ID. You just have to bring the right documentation with you. So I don't really understand why that is suppression.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like, you have to pay for an ID? Does it cost anything? I don't remember.
Hell yeah.
You do? How much does it cost?
I don't.
Like, just a regular ID, like not even a driver's license.
How much does it cost to get a state ID? All right, so in New York, if you're under the age of 62, it costs $13 to get a state ID.
13?
Yes.
Okay, that's not expensive, but again, you know what's funny? Because if you're home, okay, so say if you're homeless, right, and you have no money and you don't have an ID. I see where the problems come in with that.
How? I mean, homeless people don't vote.
They don't, right? That's what I was wondering. I didn't know the answer to that either.
I mean, they probably
Or
do,
do
but
they? Yeah.
I mean, who are you voting for?
I don't know, but that's besides the point. But like, what if you don't have an ID and you're a homeless person and you can't get access to one, so then you can't vote?
That is a very interesting problem. Though I don't know what percentage of homeless people actually vote. I don't know that number. I don't even know. I doubt there's a study on it. Who would care?
I don't know.
Unfortunately, we treat homeless people like background noise.
Which is a problem.
It is a problem. That's why I did the show that I did. But as you Google, whatever you're Googling, my thing would be, yes.
Oh, it says as few as 1 in 10 homeless people vote in elections. Okay.
Yeah, but depending on where you are, that could be enough to swing an election.
Mm-hmm.
1 in 10. And if you got like I don't know, 800, 900.
Okay, so in 2012, 10% of homeless people voted. That was on the. Do we have a current study by the end of 2020?
But there will be no way for homeless people to vote though, because even if they didn't have to do the state ID stuff, they don't have a house, so they don't have an address.
Don't have registered. Yeah, so they don't have a zoning district. You're right. Okay.
But then that will be a problem because they're still Americans, so they should still be able to vote. And so if we have voting systems that require a place to live, then you're kind of creating a privileged class where if you don't have a place to live, then you cannot vote.
Yep.
I think that's wrong. I think it's wrong that prisoners can't vote.
That prisoners can't vote?
Yeah. Why can't a prisoner vote?
I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about that, actually.
Is a prisoner not American?
I mean, a prisoner isn't American, but yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I actually don't know. I have no stance, so I'm not even going to say anything about it.
Yeah.
Before you try to come for my head.
I'm just saying. I think cops should vote. I think prisoners should vote. I definitely think people who are free but used to be prisoners should be able to vote. Like, I'm against all those, but that's not of course, Shannon. There's a bunch of laws in various places that if you were ever convicted of a felony,
well, that's stupid.
Well, some will say that you not being sure about whether prisoners should be able to vote is also stupid.
Yeah, probably, but I just don't know about it. But I'm just saying. But if you're no longer in prison, you should not be restricted from voting.
Maybe we can have it if you are in prison. Yeah, I just think prisoners should be able to vote. I don't view voting as this moral thing. I think you should have
it's just a right as a citizen.
Yeah, you're a citizen. Mm-hmm. You live on American soil. Mm-hmm. And you are a citizen. But I would never fight for the prisoner thing before we solve the homeless thing.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. Well, that's what I have to say about that. And it's been an hour. It has been an hour. It's a fast hour. Yeah, it's a fast hour. It's been an hour and 3 minutes. It's been a fast hour. I know this because I have a next scheduled event. But this was good. I know. Okay. I'm very positive.
I just want to give an update real quick.
Oh yeah,
on the stocks.
We forgot to give the disclaimer last week that me and Shannon are not financial advisors, and so
we did. But we told people that we didn't know what we were talking about.
Okay, but I think you have to do it very stern. Like, we are not financial advisors.
Right. Well, people are holding on to their GameStop stock because they all thought that it was going to shoot back up, which I never really thought it was going to. And I was right. So if you didn't sell your GameStop stock, you definitely missed out on a big opportunity. GameStop stock went from, it was like $500 last week. It is now down to $50 a share. So I do not know if you bought your stock at $3, you're still making money if you sell now because the stock is $50. So it's still more than what you paid for it. But I do not think it's going to get back up to the levels that it was at.
Matter of fact, you might be so upset because by the time you hear this, I mean, you're kind of doomed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're hearing this and you have GameStop stock, I feel bad for you.
Yeah. I mean, good thing you only have 4 shares of AMC stock because my AMC stock is down.
Oh yeah, that's not coming back.
Yeah, of course not. But I only have 4 shares. I didn't lose a lot of that money, so it's fine.
Yeah, but those are the risks of playing the stock market. Mm-hmm. I want to detach myself from all of this stuff. But if you play these games, this part of the rules. When it comes to stock, is that it is a very cutthroat business that you can make some money in. Most people won't. That's why it's such a damning industry.
Mhm.
If you are a billionaire or a millionaire, it increases the likelihood that you will see some benefit because you can kind of spread out your money in multiple investments
Yep.
and lose a lot, but then one wins and then you can make it up all the money you lost. So it's an unfair business. It's harder for the little man, but I don't think that should keep you from trying, little man. Whoever
No.
you are, little man, keep going. Keep going. This is how Joe Biden giving his speeches. Keep going. Okay. All right. So we want to thank you guys for rocking with us again for another show. Thank you for all of the new listeners. I've been reaching out on I've been doing my promo on Twitter. So I've just been DMing a bunch of black people.
We've been getting a lot of shout outs. You didn't tell me about these things.
Shannon just realized that she had a Twitter account, by the way.
Yeah.
All this time.
I made one years ago and I never used it. So
no, she had like 3 tweets, 2 or 3 tweets.
I know.
So thank you for the new listeners. Thank you for the listeners that heard something and were offended and are never going to listen again. I want to thank you for listening.
Were they offended by something you said?
Oh, probably. Yeah, probably. For example, I know my black and brown opinion is going to piss a lot of people off, but gotta be said.
Just know, guys, for people that don't want to listen anymore, just remember that I'm here and I usually have the opposite opinion of Jabia. So if he's offending you, I probably won't be. So please keep that in mind.
That's true. And I look forward to next week where we talk about my theory that the natural ally of the black man.
Can we not do that
man.
during Black History Month? Can we do something that's going to uplift black people this month, please? Please.
So it might be coming in March. I don't know. I don't know.
It is going to be coming in March. It's not coming in February. All
right. So March, first Thursday in March.
Oh my God.
You got to hear. We will see you guys next time. Deuces.
Bye. You're crazy, Jabia. Oh my God.